Democratic National Committee panel, as you just heard Vlad talk about, is meeting in Washington this morning to discuss the 2024 presidential nominating calendar. So for more than a half a century, Iowa has been at the front of the line for the Democratic Party. But some members of the party, including President Biden, are now pushing for South Carolina to kick off things for 2024. So let's bring in CBS News reporter Sarah Ewall-Wice. It's outside of the building where the DNC Rules and Bylaws Committee is gathering. This is going to sound like kind of inside-y, baseball-y, I think, to a lot of people.
You think?
Yeah. And they're going to be like, what are we talking about this? So your job is to make people understand why this is an important conversation. President Biden is among those calling for South Carolina to replace Iowa as the first in the nation to vote in the presidential nominating process. So what's the strategy here? I mean, essentially, what does it matter who's first?
Sure. As you know, when you have the presidential nominating process, there's a huge amount of attention on the state that goes first. And obviously, that a lot of people end up in that state. The candidates spend months, sometimes even a year or more, in the state campaigning, meeting with voters. And as you mentioned, Iowa has had its caucuses first since 1972. New Hampshire has had the first primary since 1972. And, you know, this has been going on, and a number of people here have been kind of having the conversations about the plan for 2024 for a very long time now, the DNC committee you mentioned. With that said, just yesterday it came out that the president has his own proposal for this that includes South Carolina going first. That is significant because South Carolina had been one of the early states, but not one of the first states. But it is the first state that President Biden had won in 2020 during that primary and put him on the path to the White House. So proposal is for that to go first, followed by Nevada and New Hampshire, then bringing in two states that were not early states in the past, Georgia and Michigan. Of course, this is going through this whole process, and there's a lot of mixed reactions to this, depending on the officials from what state they're being focused on. So there will be a lot of conversations going on in the next 2 days over what the final order will be.
Meanwhile, Sarah, as you know, Republicans are keeping Iowa as their first contest. Explain the difference between the two-party strategies.
Yeah, so this is focused on by the parties. Of course, Iowa has been first for both Democrats and Republicans in the past. You both have probably spent some time there covering this. When Democrats said they were changing it up, Republicans said they were sticking with Iowa. So Republicans in their process for their nomination process, Iowa will go first for them. Democrats had signaled that they could change things up even during the last cycle. While I was in Iowa in 2020, there was some criticism that Iowa perhaps did not reflect the diversity of the Democratic Party, and there was questions about the caucus process itself. Of course, then you'll remember that a lot of people will I guess it's been long enough. Some people forget, actually, that they weren't able to deliver caucus results on the caucus night in February 2020. And I was there for that while we waited, while there was discrepancies in the reporting. So that kind of lent itself further to the idea of switching things up. Of course, Democrats got the ball rolling on this a while ago. So there were some signals that it wouldn't be first for quite some time now.
What other states are Democrats considering moving?
You know, I mentioned before, we are expecting that Michigan will definitely be moved up. Of course, that's a part of the president's proposal, making that a fifth early state. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell has been working on this for the past 30 years and praised the president's proposal, moving Michigan up. Speaking of Michigan specifically, the legislature there is actually working on legislation. It already passed in their Senate to move that primary up to February from March. So we know it's moving up no matter what in terms of the calendar timing on that front. It's expected to pass in the House very shortly there in Michigan. Another state actually that did come up in a lot of lobbying efforts to be moved up as an early state is Minnesota. It'll be interesting to see where that comes up in the conversations today. Nevada, already an early state known as the first in the West. It was the third contest in 2020, and it has been the first in the West since 2008. But that is interesting. I know that's a state that has a lot of strong support because of the diversity there, making that kind of one of the front runners to be an earlier state. And of course, it's in President Biden's proposal to go alongside New Hampshire as the second contest held. So those are some of the different ones in the mix. I don't know if we'll have any other surprises in the conversations that happen this afternoon.
So what happens once the committee votes?
So once the committee votes, of course, then we have the whole DNC having their conversations and holding that vote. That is not expected until early next year. So the process, the recommendation comes from this committee that's meeting in the room behind me, and then it goes to the full DNC. That happens early next year when it becomes official. And then, of course, we have everyone descending on these states come early 2024 as the candidates start to campaign. Keep in mind, though, obviously, Democrats have a current incumbent president, so you might not even see the shakeup so much with Democrats in 2024. It's not expected he'll be challenged. President Biden says he's running, and so in that case, this might not be something that actually is seen significantly on the campaign trail for Democrats until 2028.
All right, Sarah, always great to have you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You too.